It's Mock Draft Monday, and Jake and I are coming at you guys yet again with more dueling mock drafts. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd over at horseshoehuddle.com, and I'm joined, as always, by Jake Arthur, our boots on the ground for the site. We are here back again with some dueling mock drafts, and today's theme, we do a theme every single week. Our theme this week is more so just going through our predictive mock drafts that we did this past week. Jake and I both released our predictive mock drafts, post-free agency predictive mock drafts last week for horseshoehuddle.com. We did full 7 rounds. Today we're only going to do the 3 rounds on the show, so definitely check out those write-ups. You want to see the full 7 rounds, but since we just released those predictive mocks and we haven't really done like a full prediction one in a while on the show, we decided today we're just going to go through, talk through our process on our predictive mocks and kind of go round by round for the first 3 rounds. So Jake, you're going to lead it off because you picked everyone's darling with your with your mock draft. Who did you go with in the first round of your predictive mock?
Yeah, so absolutely just a shocker, throwing a wrench into the mix. No, Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. I think, we kind of have gotten to the point where a lot of us probably have Tyler Warren exhaustion, but it's really the most clear-cut option. Like, there's only a few guys. If you have Tyler Warren there, you had Jihad Campbell there, there's a couple other guys. Like, it's probably going to be Warren. And there's really not much competition for that pick if he's there. I mean, everything about it is just a layup. It's the position they need the most. If you take quarterbacks out of the equation, he would be he's like the highest rated non-quarterback or one of them in the draft. If there were going to be no quarterbacks drafted, he would be a lock for the top 10, So they missed out on Brock Bowers last year. And while he's not Brock Bowers as a prospect, I don't think they want that feeling again because Bowers, of course, went on to rewrite the record books for rookie pass catchers, essentially. So you look at him as a prospect, 6'5.5", 256. He's got the great size. You don't have the but of he's undersized. You don't have the Harold Fannin of it all. Even when Kylan Granson was drafted, a lot of us were pretty optimistic, but he was undersized. So you don't have that with Warren. Unbelievable production. Last year at Penn State was the offense. Over 100 catches, over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. And, a guy at that size did a lot of Wildcat stuff and also ran the ball 26 times for another 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Threw the ball as well, had another touchdown there. So this guy did everything from the tight end position at that size. This is not a gimmicky guy. There is almost no miss rate on this player. Now, will he wind up being a top 10 caliber player if you fast forward 5 years? We don't know, but there is almost no way that he doesn't immediately come in and be like a starting level tight end for this team and at least be leaps and bounds ahead of what they had. So the high end of this, you get a player who is going to spend his career in Indianapolis and be a productive tight end for you and be a multi Pro Bowler. In the low end of it is, you've got a guy who is productive, but just maybe hasn't lived up to being the absolute stud and star that you thought he was going to be. But I don't see any way that this doesn't have some sort of success to it.
Yeah, and I will add to that where I think it's at the point where, yes, we've been talking about Tyler Warren to the Colts all offseason, but I think that's also what the Colts have been talking about internally all offseason. It's just the pick that makes the most sense for GM and for a head coach that are essentially on the hot seat. You got to have some success this year. It's why they brought in Daniel Jones to compete with Anthony Richardson. Is you need these fallback plans, and you need this season to be a success in some way. And right now, when you're looking at this tight end room, it's not in a place where you can have success this upcoming season. So it's such a big need for the team. You get this really just safe prospect with some good upside as well, very productive college player, and he's going to be ready to go from day one. I mean, he kind of brings everything that they're looking for. And the only reason I don't have him as my pick in my predictive mock is I just don't know if he's going to be there at 14. We're looking at a round one this year with so many question marks when it comes to the non-quarterbacks. Even with the quarterbacks, we have question marks, but teams are still going to draft quarterbacks high when it even they could have 100 question marks and you're going to still take a quarterback because it's just that dependent of a league right now. But when you're looking at the non-quarterbacks, I mean, you got so many traitsy guys who didn't produce, or you got very good players who were injured. You got, other off-field things with some of these guys. Like, there's not that many safe, surefire bets in this first round of this draft. And Tyler Warren, to me, is so safe and so secure for these general managers that I don't know if he's going to fall to the Colts at 14. So with all that in mind, for my first round pick of this mock, I traded back. I did the horrible thing that no Colts fan wants to hear is I moved back to pick 19, picked up an extra third rounder and another future day 3 pick. Again, for the sake of this mock, we're just going to really talk about the third round pick because that's what I'm going to be using in the third round section today. And I took offensive lineman Tyler Booker out of Alabama. And this is kind of a weird pick because Tyler Booker is not at all a Chris Ballard offensive lineman. He's a big body guy, but when I say big, he's 330 pounds, like a very different size than we typically see the Colts go for on the interior offensive line. Didn't test out of this world. I mean, he had great length and great size, but just did not have the foot speed or the explosion that the Colts typically go for. But I will say this, last offseason, at least I was extremely shocked by the edge rusher they went with in round 1. And that was Leatu Latu because he did not fit the size requirements. He did not fit the arm length requirements. He did not fit the explosive requirements that Ballard has typically gone with at that position. But he overrid all that because of the production in college. And when you're looking at Tyler Booker, a player who started 3 years at Alabama, only allowed 2 sacks in those 3 years at Alabama, one of the best pass blockers in this class, a dominant run blocker. I've heard that his interviews with offensive line coaches have been just fantastic this entire offseason. And one thing I certainly know about the Colts is when it comes to offensive linemen, if Tony Sparano Jr. says he wants a guy, the Colts are like, fine, you've earned that. With his work with Will Fries, with his work with Bernhard Raimann, with his work with Tanner Bordellini and Matt Gonsalves, they trust Sparano Jr. to pick offensive linemen when it comes to the draft. And if his interview went as well with Sparano Jr. as I've heard it's gone with most offensive line coaches that he's talked with this offseason, I think the Colts are going to be a team that are kind of sneaky for Tyler Booker. You could also replace Booker in this mock draft with like Gray Zabel for North Dakota State. Yeah. Kind of my final thoughts on taking Booker here is, again, the Colts need a guy who's ready to go from day one because everyone's on the hot seat this season. So it's kind of what scares me when it comes to like the Jahad Campbells and the Colston Lovelands, who both are dealing with torn labrums, and they might not be ready for day one of the regular season. If anything, they'll miss most of the preseason, offseason work. So it's not really how I would approach the draft. I don't care if a player misses a couple months out of a 5-year contract, with your team. But when everything is kind of on the line this season and the Colts have a big need at right guard, I could see them bypassing a Loveland or bypassing a Jahad Campbell for just that steady, safe guard who's going to be a good player from day one, like Tyler Booker, or again, if you want to throw in a Gray Zabel here, those guys are going to be good players for you from day one, just like a Tyler Warren would be. And in this scenario, you also pick up an extra pick. So that's my predictive mock right now. I don't know where they would go if Warren was off the board. So I kind of figured they would trade back and go with an interior offensive lineman that fills the need. And also at the owner meetings, in the GM meetings and the head coaching meetings down in Florida, they talked about the need at right guard quite a bit. So I do think that's going to be a big need for them in this draft. And I wouldn't be shocked if they went guard in round 1 in this class.
No, I feel certain about a couple things in this draft, and that's they're going to look at a tight end early, and I think they're going to come away with at least a couple offensive linemen. And obviously right guard is the biggest hole right now because I don't think they just want to mess with Matt Gonsalves and just plug him right in there. That's not how it sounds. So, judging off of going with Latu last year, they're letting tape be king on some guys. I think they're more willing to do that when the position coach stands on the table for them. Reggie Wayne with Josh Downs, Sperano Bordolino was a great athlete, but Gonzalez didn't have a complete pre-draft profile. So if Sperano does this again with Booker, there's also things we can't really see, like the Zebra technology stuff, the GPS data. If their on-field, in-game stuff looks good, then I could see them letting that sway them a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, right guard is certainly a need. And what we both did here with Tyler Warren and Tyler Booker is support this quarterback, whoever it's going to be. Like, if you're going to use a quarterback competition, you have to give both of these guys as much support as possible. And whether it's Warren or Booker, again, I think if Warren's gone like you did, trading back is probably the smart thing to do. You can't really go wrong there. Booker is a great player, and I think the tenacity at which he plays and his play style just fits really well with what the Colts do.
Yeah, for sure. And it also allows Matt Gonzalez to stick at right tackle this offseason, which I think the Colts really want to do. They did not seem too excited about moving Gonzalez inside. And I came away from a lot of like Bauer and Steichen comments in Florida this past week, as in saying like Gonzalez is not going to be the starting right guard this next season.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. I just think they want to groom him for the future right tackle and leave it be as the swing tackle for now. But coming up, guys, we've got 2 more rounds to get to. So let's go ahead and look at round 2. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. But now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who could do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so that you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also that you can get the most money back guaranteed. So no waiting, no wondering, and no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. All right, Zach, so you are a Rolling Stone. You moved back in the first round, and I know you got an itchy trigger finger. You're not done. What are you doing in the second round?
Yeah, so in the second, again, I've talked about it just ad nauseum this whole offseason about how the Colts need a tight end in this draft. And there's only 3 guys really worth pursuing. And kind of with my reasoning in that first segment, I don't even know if they're going to pursue Colston Loveland because of that shoulder injury. So it really leaves it to Tyler Warren in round 1 or Mason Taylor in round 2. So in my predictive mock draft scenario, the Colts just aren't going to wait for Mason Taylor to fall to that second round pick. They move up to pick, 39 with the Bears. They give up their 4th round pick this year. Again, the trades are not going to be perfect here. I'm not a whiz when it comes to that. They're going to be rough outlines of this. So the Colts give up the 45th overall pick and the 117th pick to move up to pick 39 to go get their tight end that they desperately need. And I think Mason Taylor is a fantastic consolation prize if you can't get Tyler Warren in round 1. Yeah, he might not be as safe as a Tyler Warren because he doesn't have the blocking or the size exactly that Warren has. But with Taylor, you're really betting on this 20-year-old tight end who has gotten better throughout college, still is growing into what he can be, still has a lot of like good traits as a blocker, and he's a pretty solid pass catcher as well with some upside to be a legit starting tight end in the NFL. So maybe he doesn't have this like sky high ceiling as other tight ends in this class, and maybe he doesn't have the highest floor, but I do think he's a pretty safe bet in round 2 as well. Again, for a 20-year-old who's put some good film on tape in the SEC, who's still athletic and strong as well, can still put some weight on. Like I think there's a lot of growing that he needs to do, but I do think he can get there because the traits are so tantalizing with him. So Mason Taylor, my comp for him is Hunter Henry. I think he moves very, very similar to Hunter Henry. And I think that he's a guy where, again, if the Colts don't get a tight end in round 1, we could see them come flying up for him in the early round 2 range, like in the early 30s even. I moved to 39 here, but it wouldn't shock me if they jumped up to like 35, 36, because again, if they don't get Tyler Warren, they have to get Mason Taylor in round 2. They're in that dire of a position when it comes to tight ends. So I have Tyler Booker in round 1 and then Mason Taylor, a really solid tight end prospect in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's a top 40 guy for me. I think you either have to trade back into the bottom of the first, or like you did here, 45, I don't think is going to cut it. You got to get into that top 40 somehow, especially when we've seen tight ends kind of go earlier than normal, at least in bulk these last few years. And shoot, we saw last year the first 14 picks of the draft were offense. There's really no reason for teams not to be enamored by Taylor. I think he's got a high floor. He moves really well, is sure-handed, is a young prospect. He's got Hall of Fame bloodlines with Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas. I mean, he's a tight end, but he's got really sweet, nifty feet like a receiver, I think, when you get into kind of tight situations. So I think they're kind of like Warren. I think it's nearly impossible that he doesn't find some success in the NFL. Just seems very, very safe to me.
Yeah.
So coming up for me, I mentioned I think they're going to look hard at offensive linemen. I kind of struggled on this one, finding whether I wanted to go interior or tackle on this one, because I know they like a lot of day 3 tackles in this one. But a guy who has a profile of the day 3 guys are looking at on day 2 is Minnesota tackle Ariante Ursery. So this was another guy they got their initial look at the Senior Bowl, but he's 6'6", 331 with over 33-inch arms. So he's got the size, he's got the length. He's an athletic guy. You can see him getting out there to the second level and, lead blocking a little bit on the outside runs. But also he can maul a guy. He has plenty of power to take out a guy in a phone booth as well. So this is a guy I really like. 3-year starter at left tackle. Again, I think he's pretty scheme versatile. Zach, you've done a lot of work on the offensive lineman this year. If you're hoping to strike gold on like a Bernard Ryman type of guy, they don't have the same background whatsoever, but you hope to find an eventual starting tackle on day 2. It's not super common, but I think Ursery is one of those type of guys that you could take a chance on. And if you're just kind of sitting and waiting for Braden Smith's contract to run up, there's your right tackle after he's gone.
Yeah, no, very good offensive tackle prospect in this class. Definitely in that range of raw, but has some upside. But I think in this scenario, with you taking a tackle at round 2, Gonsalves would be the guy up at right guard. And you would have Ursery be just kind of your swing tackle for the year, learn behind Braden Smith and Baron Ryman, and eventually take over come 2026 at that right tackle position. A really interesting fact about him, and it kind of plays to again, kind of how Ballard drafts offensive tackles is Ursery's still relatively new to the position. I know he started for 3 years in college, but he only moved to offensive tackle. I believe it was like his junior or senior year of high school, and really started working at the position there. So similar to Ryman, who was a tight end in college and moved to an offensive tackle, similar to Braden Smith, who didn't even play tackle in college. Like, it seems like Ballard does like these guys who still have room to grow because they're not as experienced enough at that position. So Ursery, so Ursery for me, aside from hitting all the marks you're looking for in terms of his athleticism and his size in regards to what Ballard likes at tackle, it was also kind of that fact as well that pushed him up to, I think he was my second Bill DeBallard tackle in this class. So I do think he's a good fit for what the Colts are looking for. Again, I don't know if they go tackle in round 2, but again, if they're looking at, say, the guard market by there, that pick in like round 2, like say Tate Ratledge is gone and maybe Wyatt Milam went because there was a run on guards, then I could see them saying, you know what, we can put Gonsalves at right guard. Let's take a tackle and roll from there. Like, they have avenues to play with when it comes to this offensive line. They're not so set in stone where they like have to take a guard and Gonsalves has to play tackle. I think that's the way they prefer to go. But I do think they'd be comfortable putting Gonsalves at right guard and drafting a tackle in this class as well. So Ursery, again, as a guy who just fits everything they look for. Tackle's got the size, got the speed, has got the run blocking mentality, has the ability to grow as a pass protector, kind of fits a lot of what they're looking for.
Yeah, and I think he looks pretty ready as well. I think he processes things pretty well, because you see how rushers come at him and he's ready for battle. He does not ever seem like behind in the count. Like, he's already ready to counter everything they got at him. Again, you get that in a 3-year starter, but I like the fact that I don't think, let's say he had to play pretty quickly into his rookie year, I don't think he'd be totally lost. Yeah, so I like that about him. And again, he fits a lot of what the Colts want. And I think that is about the only scenario in which the Colts would be willing to let Gonzalez move into right guard, is if an opportunity like this presented itself where they're like, okay, so we can move Gonzalez into right guard and we can have something better than Blake Freeland here as the swing tackle.
Right.
This is that scenario there. So coming up, guys, we've got round 3, and Zach is double dipping. He's got an extra pick to make. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all of my money go? Been there lots of times, but between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of everything. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app either. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth and being proactive. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery, which I make no regrets about. But now I can budget smarter and kind of look in the mirror and see how much I am ordering and kind of plan accordingly. And instead of juggling multiple apps for your finances, you can use Monarch to check your finances everywhere, track your spending, and even just plan long-term goals. And, money is obviously a stressor on relationships, but managing money with your partner is smoother than ever now. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year. All right, Zach, so you got 80 and 84 here. So what we'll do is just make a me sandwich. You give your first one, the Colts pick at 80. I'll give you my Colts pick at 80, and then you tell us 84 that you got from the Buccaneers.
Okay. So we'll start with my first one here. And because I had the extra pick to play with in round 3, there were so many different avenues I could have gone with. I could have gone for a third safety here. I could have gone for defensive lineman, pass rusher, whatever you need there. I could have gone, again, for offensive line. Like, there's a lot of different ways to play with this when you have the extra pick. I went with defensive tackle just because the Colts are needing of that third defensive tackle. They have not had a productive third defensive tackle behind Stewart and Buckner probably the entire time we've had this duo in Indianapolis. So I went with Ty Hamilton out of Ohio State, a guy who tested extremely well at his pro day, a guy who had some good run defensive reps this past season. And I think he's got some potential to grow as well. Like he can still add a little bit to his frame, be a really good run defender in the NFL with some pass rushing juice as well. I thought he showed some pass rushing juice. Kind of the stock for him is all over the place right now. I've seen some sites with him being a top 75 player. I've seen other sites with him being in the 200s. It's kind of a crazy projection for him. But for me, when I'm looking at this, a multi-year starter at Ohio State who tested extremely well, who was productive this past season as a senior. I don't know how that falls to day 3. And when I'm looking at the defensive tackles that could be there in round 3, yes, a CJ West could make some sense. Yes, Aeneas Peebles could make some sense out of Virginia Tech. But for me, a Hamilton, you just get such a solid floor, who's also a good run defender and, again, has that pedigree at Ohio State and was really productive last year. So I went with Ty Hamilton. Again, there's a lot of different defensive tackles you could go with here, but just pick your poison. I want a defensive tackle in this draft. I'm not going to hide that. I desperately think that the Colts need to get a third defensive tackle at all costs. And I think a guy like Hamilton could be a solid player this next season.
I like that one a lot. I like Ty Hamilton. I think he offers a lot of athleticism in the middle and moves around very well. I was at that pro day you mentioned, and that guy is a smooth operator. Looked really good in the positional drills. I like that one a lot. You need competition there alongside Neville Gallimore and Adetomiwa Adebawore. Because, these weren't great players, but you are without Taven Bryan and Raekwon Davis. You also just need quality bodies for backups and competition. So I like that one a lot. Moving along to my pick in the 3rd round, I think the Colts are going to get a running back somewhere before round 6, probably. And one I like a lot that I think checks a lot of boxes for them is Miami's Damian Martinez. He is a tough inside runner, good contact balance, good, vision and drive to him as well. Good 3-down guy. He's a capable pass catcher. one of the guys you could, notch as a good pass protector on here as well. So he's really good. If you're looking to replace Zach Moss, he's the Zach Mossiest of the running backs in this draft, I think. There's a lot of different flavors of running backs in this one. But if you thought Moss was like the perfect complement to Taylor and was like an ideal 3-down back who, when Taylor misses his 3.5 games per season, you got a guy here who can carry the load for that time. That's Martinez. I really like him. This is such a deep running back group, though, that like, who knows where he's going to go. I've seen late round 2. I think when this pre-draft process really got going back at the Senior Bowl, I was seeing like round 5. So
Yeah.
Really no idea. I know he is one of the better, more well-balanced prospects, though. And again, the Colts need running back, I think, more than people realize. They do have Khalil Herbert, which I think was great, but they still need that running back capable of pass pro. Martinez would be the only one who feasibly should never leave the field when he's in a drive, really.
Yeah.
Taylor has some issues with drops in pass pro. Khalil Herbert is a good runner and receiver, but pass pro is not his thing either. So you have to have this guy who's going to replace Trey Sermon. And certainly as a runner and pass catcher, he's an upgrade over Sermon. So I like Martinez a lot. I'm fine with it being in round 3. I'm not going to take up a bunch more time because I know you got one more pick to make. But what do you think about Martinez?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Martinez. We've mentioned him on quite a few shows now at this point, I think. So it's pretty evident that here on Locked On Colts, we're big Damian Martinez fans. I think he's my ideal running back in this draft. I think it really was his pass blocking, though, that sold me. When I was watching his film, I came away thinking he's one of the better pass blocking running backs in this class. And I think when you add that with his tough running style, with his ability to make guys miss in the hole, his sweet feet for a big boy running the ball, I'm a big fan of Damian Martinez. But now I'm going on to another player I'm a big fan of, is my second, third round pick here. And that is linebacker Smail Mondon Jr. from Georgia. We have Bruce here in the comments that have been yelling for the whole show about how we need a linebacker. Don't worry, Bruce. I got you covered here with this one with Mondon Jr. out of Georgia. And I think he could be available here in round 3, despite, again, the pedigree and the production at a big school. I think he could be here in round 3 because he did deal with some injuries last year. And he might be maxed out at his size, which is like 226 pounds. Like, he's not a very big linebacker, but when you look at the Colts, I mean, Zaire Franklin's in the 230s. EJ Speed was high 220s, low 230s. Shaquille Leonard was playing at like 218 here. Like, it's not official that he was playing at like 218, but he was playing at like 218 with the Colts. So the Colts don't really care about the size of their linebackers. They care about the speed and the ability to move between tackles and just make plays on the ball. And when you look at Mondon Jr., what he did at Georgia last year, he was playing as the star defender at times. He was playing as an edge rusher, alongside Mykel Williams and Jalen Walker. He was playing as a traditional off-ball linebacker, and you saw a lot of good things from him. A former safety that moves really well. His closing speed and coverage is fantastic. His ability to make plays on the ball is really good. I think this is a guy where at the very worst, you're going to get just a top-tier sub-package player who can cover and blitz and do a lot of things for your defense. And we've talked about it how all offseason that Lou Anarumo wants to be multiple with this defense. He wants to have guys that don't fit in specific boxes, guys that can do multiple things. And when you look at a player like Mondon Jr., you can have him be, your will linebacker in base downs. You can have him be a guy who can go out and cover a tight end down in space. You can have him be a blitzer on third downs. Like, you can do so many different things with him. He can kind of be like what they were doing with Ronnie Harrison the last couple of years. Ronnie Harrison, right? No.
Yep.
Ronnie Harrison. Yes, Ronnie Harrison. I was thinking of the old Patriots safety. Yeah, Ronnie Harrison. They can do a lot of those things they were trying to do with him, but with a young player who has some upside and ability to grow. So Mondon Jr. is, for me, linebacker 4 in this class. I have him much higher than pick 84, but because of the injuries and the maxed out frame, I think he could be there for the Colts. And if they miss out on Schlesinger and they miss out on Jahad Campbell, I think this is the best scenario to upgrade that linebacker room. So if the Colts can do what I did in this draft, which is trade back and accumulate picks and get an extra third round pick, you can spend that on a linebacker, get a player like Mondon Jr., and just roll from there.
Yeah, I certainly like going with Mondon over like a Danny Stutzman or Barrett Carter. I think I would put Mondon as the higher upside guy there. from that group. But I think you add someone like him, and you don't feel the pressure to totally take Jalen Carlies out of the equation there. In the base defense, you can have Carlies at Sam, and then you can have Mondon at Will. You can have all three of those guys out there. But whatever linebacker they bring in has to have coverage skills such as Mondon. So I like that one a lot. It's a versatile guy that you can move around. And I mean, if you want to get back to the days of when the Colts defense was good, like even just look at Eberflus, that defense, for its flaws, it had some really, really good times. The players swarmed to the ball. They were fast, rangy, and they were able to play free. And that's kind of Mondon's game. He's not a guy, I wouldn't put him into some over analytic role where you have to make him think about a bunch of things, but you put him out there in space and he's going to make plays.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Mondon. He's really grown on me recently, and he's, again, I had that hot take a couple shows ago where I was saying, like, if you don't get Schlesinger, don't take a linebacker in the top 100 picks. And then I watched Mondon soon afterwards. I was like, okay, if you don't get Mondon, then don't take a linebacker in the top 100 picks. I'm fully sold on him at this point. But again, guys, this is our mock draft Monday face-off that we're doing. This is based off our predictive mocks that we did for horseshoehuddle.com last week. So if you want to see the full 7 rounds from both of us, check it out over on Horseshoe Huddle, or Jake will put it in the comments below. Or
it is in the show notes. Right? Both mocks, yeah.
Perfect. So if you want to check that out, you can see which quarterbacks we took on day 3. Because I know I took one on day 3. Did you take a quarterback on day 3, Jake?
I don't think I did.
Oh gosh, I took one that I did not want to take.
No, see, mine had a twist though. I listed trade up and trade back options for each round. I think there is a quarterback, at least one in that scenario.
There you go. Okay, so you guys check that out for the full 7 rounds in the show notes below. But just to recap the first 3 rounds, Jake went all offense today. He went Tyler Warren, he went Ariante Ersery, and he went Damian Martinez. And I went Tyler Booker, Mason Taylor, Ty Hamilton, and Smail Mondon Jr. I think I won personally, Jake, but I think you're going to get more votes because of Tyler Warren. So yeah, let us know in the comment section below, everyone. Let us know below. And we want to thank you guys for making Locked On Colts your first listen today and every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get that insider scoop, follow the link on our show notes. And if you guys don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2 on Twitter and Blue Sky and all the places that you get your socials. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love you guys' ratings and reviews, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow afternoon.